let me hear an inspiring word, another inspiring word, another inspiring word. Yeah, when are you going to do something about all this inspiration? Right? You're busy being inspired. Yeah, when you're busy being inspired all day, okay, now do something with your inspiration, right? But no, okay, whatever. I'm sorry, I had to stick that in there. Anyways, all right.
It's good to see, Baruch Hashem, you did not deviate one iota from your mission statement, Baruch Hashem.
Correct. Anyway, all right, fine. We ready for the daf now? Yeah. Amud Aleph. Reb Aaron, how's it going over there? You're a little muted, but yeah. Thank you. Okay, Amud Aleph is.
Aaron, you're muted. He's trying to talk again. Where is he?
I think he's in by a convention or something.
Oh, he's at the Jersey thing at the nursing home, guys.
So it's a mechaya to be it's one thing to be listening to the daf from Yisroel. It's another thing to be in a place where there's 1,000 people walking around downstairs, bullying around and gambling, and I'm up in the room with the daf.
There you go. You have some you're bringing some kedusha to the hotel. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So Amud Aleph tonight is quite hard. It gives you Vamas a run for its money, and then on Amud Beis it's much easier. And then tonight we start with for the next till the end of Keshubos, we start with the major Gemaras about living in Eretz Yisroel. And tomorrow, if tomorrow's daf takes us less than 3 hours, it will be a chiddush. I'm just warning you. So if you don't want a long daf, then go listen to somebody on all daf or something, because tomorrow's daf is depending on who's on and depending on who wants to fight about whatever particular thing there is. But
so we're starting at 7:30.
It was 7:30 a.m.
We're muting Gershon.
Yeah. Anyways, but I hate to say it, as I give a little bit of warning. I think the Olam is going to be very much in the Satmar Rebbe's. If you learn the Gemara, Satmar Rebbe doesn't seem to be too far off from his shittas about Eretz Yisroel. Okay, whatever. That's just the tease for tomorrow's daf. But anyways, first we have to get to that. So let's see. So Amaitzi, we're up to the last couple of dinim that Admon said that the Chachamim disagreed with. So we're on Kuf Yud Amud Aleph, right? Yeah. Yeah. So Amaitzi start Chayva Chaver, right? Here we go. Again, your brilliant minds trying to come up with all sorts of ways to get money out of their friends. So Amaitzi start Chayva Chaver, right? If somebody finds a star chayv on his friend, so basically one guy, Reuben, goes over to Shimon and says, you owe me $1,000. And then Shimon says, you sold me a field yesterday, right? So how are you telling me that I owe you $1,000 and you sold me a field, right? Why? How can you possibly say that I owe you money and then you're doing business with me? Right, so that's the give and the take here. So he could say to him, if it would have, meaning the guy who's defending himself that there was no loan, he says, if I would be chayiv to give you money, then I should have to pay you up before you're going to start doing business with me. It must be that you didn't lend me any money.
Sorry. We had Mishnas where you lent someone money to buy the property you're selling them. We had a Mishnah a few weeks ago like that.
Where you lent somebody money.
You paid. We had him. You paid the guy. You lent.
You gave
money.
The guy money, and then he bought it off you.
Right.
Correct. But but that's a little different than this. Here, the guy owes him money, and now he's selling him another field.
I don't see the time. Okay.
So why would you do business with the guy if he owes you money?
This is how people do business.
So what do you say?
This is how people do businesses on it. They can have 7 deals going with the same person. Maybe it's not the time of the Gemara they did that, but now it's Ma'aseh B'chol Yom.
Yeah, but I think this is more than that. No, you're agreeing with Naftali. So Yeah, it must
Oh,
be the
yeah.
fumes. Must be the fumes of Atlantic City.
I was
Um,
I was
warning
about
about
to say
tomorrow
he must
night.
have hit the bar early tonight. To be honest.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, because he could say that the star was let's see. I mean, if you look in the top Rashi, right, he could say that this star, it's a star ma'ucher, yeah, and he could say either it was mezuyif or it was paid up, yeah, because then meaning there would be a way that he could collect his chayv. Let's see in the Gemara, maybe it'll get a little clearer or less clear, or whatever it is. But that's what Admon is saying, that it's not, again, it's not so much that he said, why would you do business with me if I owe you money? You'd be able to get the money, or that the bill, either the star is mezuyif, it's forged, or it was already paid up. Right? That's the way Admon is saying it. No, this guy's a smart guy. What he did is he sold him the karka because then he has something to take a mashkin. Meaning he lent this guy money. Then he realized this guy doesn't have any money. So what am I going to do if he doesn't pay me back? I can't collect it. I can't collect from him. So what did he do? He sold him a field. Now, if the default's on the loan, what is he going to do? He's going to go grab the field back from him. So the Chacham is saying he's actually a pikeach. So it doesn't, just because he sold him the field doesn't mean he did anything wrong. So let's see in the Gemara. My time of the Rabbanan Shapir Kamar Adon. What are the Rabbanan saying? Adon is saying a good thing, right? Meaning what he could have done is he could have just said, okay, give me the money for the field, and then taken the money and say, hey, okay, now you just paid back the loan, right? He could have done that. So the Gemara answers, if we're talking about a town where they paid first and then they gave the shtar, meaning I don't know why they didn't do it at the same time, but seems like there were two different minhagim. Either you paid for the field and then you went, and I guess like nowadays you get it in the mail, you'll get the deed in the mail later or something like that. Or you had the other way around where they gave you the deed and then you paid for it. I don't know why anybody would do that, but that's what the Gemara is differentiating. He says if it's a town where you gave the money first and then you got the deed, so then everybody is going to agree that he could say that you should have paid up before. Why? I mean, he took the money from him before he made a shtar. So he should have just taken the money and said, okay, this is for the loan. You want to buy a field, give me more money. Right? But the Machlokes, what they're talking about in the Mishna, is where they write a shtar first and then they give money. So Admon should have said, I'm selling you this field, but by the way, the reason why I'm selling you this field is because I want to be able to use it to collect a loan. Right? He should have told everybody that. Why didn't he say that? Right? That's Admon's time. Right? Again, the song of the Daf. If he's going to tell him that, then the whole scam is going to go out the window. Because if he tells it to the Edom, then the Edom going to go whisper it to the other guy, and then the other side is going to find out. And he's going to say, "Oh, I'm not going to buy the field from him because he's just selling me the field so that he can use it to collect on the loan, which he doesn't want it to have. He doesn't want it to happen." Okay. Again, it doesn't sound like we're dealing with the biggest tzaddikim in the world over here, all right? Because he's looking to get back his loan, and the other one's looking to get out of paying his loan. Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's the easier part of the summer. Now starts the harder part. Shnayim zak the Mishnah. Yeah. Shnayim sheitziu shtar chayv zel zeh. So this is relatively straightforward. You have two guys, and each one has an IOU on each other. Right, again, Shnayim sheitziu shtar chayv zeh al zeh. So now the question is, should we just cancel them out, or do we take payment from each one? So Adonai if I would be chayiv to you, why would you ever borrow from me? Now, obviously, these loans were dated at different times. Right? One guy's loan came before the other one. Otherwise, this whole thing doesn't work. Right? That's what Rashi says. Meaning Reuven lent to Shimon today, and Shimon borrowed back from Reuven in a week from now. or a week before, whichever, right? It wasn't done at the same time because otherwise the whole case doesn't start. So basically what he says is, well, if I really owed you money, so then why would you lend me money? Just pay me back. All right, that's what Adnan is saying. Why would two people? Oh yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe I'm making it sound more complicated than it is. Reuven lends money to Shimon, right? And then Shimon goes and Reuven lends money to Shimon, and then Shimon goes and lends money to Reuven. Does that make any sense? Right? Just pay back Reuven and finished. Right? That's what the Gemara is saying. So must be that it's forged star. And that's it, and doesn't work. That's what Adon is saying. He said, no, each one collects for their star. Yeah. Now, okay, so now we have to see how the Gemara explains this whole thing. So Itmar, same exact case as the Mishnah. So Rav Nachman Amar Zeh Goiva v'Zeh Goiva. Rav Nachman says each one collects. Rav Sheshes Amar Hafuche Matarta Lameli. Why do I have to switch bags? Right, which Rashi says, if you're carrying a bag that weighs a certain amount and on both shoulders, there's no point in switching shoulders, right? Meaning, if you had on your left shoulder a 10-pound bag, on your right shoulder a 5-pound bag, so then it would make sense to switch shoulders to give your shoulders a break, right? Or one shoulder a break. But if they're both the same weight, so what's the point? So again, Rav Nachman says each one collects from each other. Rav Sheshes says there's no point. Each one just stay where they are. Now, I should have said this before. We're not talking about where they have money to pay back. We're talking about where both guys don't have the money to pay back the loan. Right? So they're going to be giving karka instead of the loan. So the question is there any point in swapping out karka? This is actually a very important point in this whole thing.
There was two kinyanim in these two transactions. There's two kinyanim. Why would Rav Sheshes hold you just swap it out? I mean, these are two separate transactions. You want to make it into one. Why?
Good. By saying, what's the point? If I owe you $1,000, I'm going to give you $1,000 of my field, and you owe me $1,000. So then, why do I have to give you and you give me? Let's just stay in our fields and finish. Unless there's going to be something different about them, which is what the Gemara is going to say.
What, Zibure and this?
Yes.
But okay.
Well, let's see how it plays out. But right now, first of all, the Machlokes is interesting because Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes are having an identical Machlokes to the Machlokes Tanoim. So what are they adding to the mix? Right? At least right now, what are they adding to the mix? We'll see in the Gemara what they're adding to the mix. But right now, Rav Nachman is saying each one collects from the other one, and Rav Sheshes says there's no point. Right? Each one should just stay in their fields and finish. So now the Gemara analyzes this Machlokes. The Kuli Alma. Now again, before we go back to another Hakdama, there's Idius, Ziboris, and Beinanis. This is also one of my PTSD from elementary school days. When I hear these three words, I'm telling you, I must have flunked so many tests, what the Taich word for each one is, and got it all mixed up and got punished or something, because I don't know, it makes me crazy. But anyways, Idius is the best, Beinanis is the middle, and Ziboris is the cheapest. Now, part of the reason that I couldn't understand it, I think, is because what's the difference? If I'm giving you $1,000 of a field, who cares if it's a good field, a bad field, or a medium field? I'm giving you $1,000 worth, right?
No, it's a difference. Yeah.
That's why you understand it and I don't.
No, I understand it from Shmuel this morning. Not that long, not 40 years ago.
Yeah.
What's pshat, Abba? What's pshat?
Pshat is if you get a storefront on 5th Avenue that's $1,000. The store is 2 by 3 feet. Or you get a whole apartment from Good Friend in the Bronx that's a 4-room apartment. Each one is $1,000.
Yeah, but one's in a bad neighborhood, and one is in a bad neighborhood, one is in a...
Right, so that's why I'm saying it's more valuable.
But
the one in Manhattan.
Yeah, even obviously, there would have to be a reason why the one in the Bronx is that, because physically it could be 1,000 square feet, and the thing in New York is enough to put a telephone on, but it's worth it for you to have that.
Location.
Take the one in New York.
Thank you, Mr. Sam. Thank you, Mr. Sam Petrie. Yes.
I don't think anybody knows. Okay.
Who said that word? That famous word is his word.
What is he, a football player?
No, when he owned 600 stores. That's what he did.
He owned the football players, but what do you call it? No, so that's the pshat. People would rather Zibarius than Idius. It's not, when you think about it, it sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it
People
doesn't
rather
make sense.
Zibarius?
The people would rather Idius than
Yes,
Zibarius, right? Meaning I would rather a smaller field that's worth more than but l'chayra that's totally in the person.
No, mate.
Some people would say, you have grocery stores that make their business based on volume, and you have some that make it, you have the high-end stores that sell much less merchandise for a lot of money.
But they have Aaron Kaplan as a customer.
So really,
Thank you.
Okay.
Isn't it easier to run a field that's smaller and better than a larger and cheaper? The maintenance of it.
I don't care what's the difference. If it's producing the same money, it's producing the same money. Who cares? Okay.
It's not necessarily. This is the next line. This is Shazeh.
I have this in business all the time. I'd rather take accounts that have more people because you're able to shuffle things around as opposed to the ones that have skeleton crews. It's much harder to cover when you need it.
So you're saying you'd rather
You'd rather the Ziburis.
You'd rather Ziburis then. You'd rather the cheaper. Okay,
That's
it's going to be totally.
That's the next line.
Yeah. Oh, so
that's the Ritzvah's pshat. And it is Shazeh,
okay,
Bein is Shazeh. That's his pshat. If I want to grow cabbages, I don't need Idris. I need Ziburis.
Well, that's the second level. That's the second level of the whole thing. So anyway, so Idius is the best, Baininus is the middle, Zibaris is the cheapest. Normally, the din is that when you're collecting from somebody who defaulted on a loan, you get the middle. That's the din. You get the middle. You don't get the best, you don't get the cheapest, you get the middle. The question is that subjective or objective? Meaning, is it based on the person, the individual's fields? Because my best fields could be the other guy's cheap fields, or vice versa. Or is there a standard, like there's like a Kelly's Blue Book on fields, and it tells you what's the average field, what's a cheap field, what's the best field. So that's going to be what we're going to try and figure out. Maybe one guy who lent.
It would work the same way as comms, based on any other thing.
No, so that the Gemara is going to discuss it, that it's not so simple that it works like that.
And what are the options? Either a Kelly Blue Book or
meaning it's a standard.
It's
a standard. This is considered let's go with almost in the Esraigim. You got the Aleph and you got the Bays and you got the Gimel. Now an Aleph, Bays, and Gimel in 5 towns is not an Aleph, Bays, and Gimel in Lakewood, right? A Gimel in Lakewood is an Aleph in the 5 towns. In Farakwe 5, no question about it, right? That's the way. I don't know how it is in Cleveland, but that's certainly that. The question is,
are you talking about a Esraigim or Bachrim? What are you talking about?
Both, for sure, Bachrim.
No, but the other way. The buyer or the lender.
Both. Well, here we're talking about both. They're both lenders and they both lend each other. That's the problem. Yeah, I told you this is a Yavama. So what are you saying, Rabbi?
No, nothing. It's funny.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, so on the last thin lines, so if each one has equal fields, okay, so you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. Then that's swapping the bags from one shoulder to the other. Doesn't make any sense. Just everybody keep what they have, right? That life would be easy if both guys were exactly in the same spot. Of course. Right? If one has only medium fields and the other guy only has cheap fields. So Rav Nachman says each one collects from the other one. Because he holds that you evaluate the Idius, Baininus, and Zibaris based on his own personal fields. So what's going to happen? Asi Bal Zibaris. So the guy who has only cheap fields, the Gavi Leila Baininus, and he's going to collect on a Baininus, which we said is the din. He's going to collect the Baininus on the, meaning lender number 1, borrower number 1, only has cheap fields, but he's going to go collect a medium field from his other guy, from the other borrower, because the other borrower has Baininus fields. Now, the gabi to have a gabe idios, but now it's going to become for him idios because that's his best field.
Right.
So now basically what then the guy ends up with an idios and a ziburius, right? So now for asahu, so now the other guy could come for shaklu ziburius, and then the other guy's going to come and take the ziburius, right? Meaning each one.
He doesn't go down. He doesn't.
Well, yeah, it's going to adjust. So therefore, one is going to right exactly.
No, but why doesn't he get the idios back? Just take that field back.
Because we're saying it's subjective. So now for him, it's idios. So he doesn't get that. He's going to end up with ziburius because he only gets the medium.
If he doesn't have bainis, you go down. You don't go up.
Correct. It seems like it. So, anyways, what's going to end up being it's not a equal swap. That's what comes out. That's what Nachman's saying. So it makes sense to swap. But right? Because he says, what is the point of switching? Because b'shel kol adam ein shaman. There you evaluate these three levels of fields based on everybody. It's objective, not subjective. So soif ki asiyahu beinani the nafshi kashol. He ends up taking his own beinani back. He gives him a beinani and he says, okay, now I got to take a beinani. So I'm taking it right back. What's the point? Okay, so that's what the Gemara thinks right now is the Machlokes. So the Gemara says, Rav Nachman, my chaz is dasi balzi baris bereisha. Who says that the order happened in that way? That the zibaris goes and collects from the other guy. Lacy bal beinanis bereisha v'ligvi zibaris. Maybe the collection should happen in the opposite direction. Meaning you're saying that one of the zibaris guy is collecting from the other guy. Maybe the other guy has to collect from him first. And then go get it back from him. So Gemara says, no, one went and complained about it first. One went to Bezdin first. So the Gemara says, who cares who came to Bezdin first? At the end of the day, Bezdin's going to say, okay, you both owe each other money. What's the difference? Who started the fight? At the end of the day, you owe him and he owes you. So you're left hanging. So Gemara says, Tir Gemara Rav Nachman, Aliva de Rav Sheshes, Kagoin. Right? So again, this is Rav Nachman. We don't find this so often. That they're having a machlokes. Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes are having the machlokes. Right? Now Rav Nachman is going and is explaining Rav Sheshes, or he's explaining it lefi Rav Sheshes. Tir Gemara Rav Nachman, Aliva de Rav Sheshes, Kagoin Shaloi v'zeh le'eser v'zeh lechomish. Must be that the loan length was different times. One lent for 10 years and one lent for 5 years. So I'm going to ask, Hechidami, what's the case? The first loan was for 10 years, and the second loan was for 5 years. Would Amon really say, how can he, right? Adman was saying, if I was really chayav you the money, why would you lend it to me? You still have another 5 years left to the loan. Again, if we're talking about a 10-year loan first, and then the second loan, the guy meaning Ruvain lent Shimon money for 10 years. Then Shimon went and borrowed money from Reuven for 5 years. What's wrong with that? It's not, why wouldn't Shimon lend him the money? He gave him a 5-year loan, and the other one is a 10-year loan, right? Allah matas money. Allah Rishon, right? So Allah matas money. This man wasn't there yet, so of course he would lend him the money. So it must be the opposite. Ela Rishon l'chamesh v'sheni l'eser. Must be that the first loan was for 5 years and the second loan was for 10 years. So then the Gemara says, okay, so what's the case? What?
I lent you money for 5 years.
Correct.
And now in the 5 years
after the 5 years,
you didn't pay
well,
me
now
back.
the Gemara is going to ask.
Right, you didn't pay me back, and now
he wants a 10-year loan. He took a 10-year loan from him.
From the other guy. I lent
Correct.
you money for 5 years.
Correct, and then I borrowed money from you for 10. So Gemara is going to ask how that works.
Yeah.
Let's say, hey Chidami, what's the case? Either matas mane, if the time was up, my time of the Rabbanan. So why the Rabbanan saying that it works? It shouldn't work. Either loy matas mane, and if the 5 years is not up yet, halay matas mane, my time of the Adon. It's not, the loan is not due yet. So what's the reason for Adon? So Gemara says, like tzricha da'asabahu yayma de mishalim chamesh. He came, not the mishalim, the mishlam chamesh. He came on the day that the 5 years was up. So really, he's got to pay the next day. Okay, so what's the machlokes? Mar savar ovid inish desayif the yazif. Liyoime. A person would borrow money for 1 day. Mar savar loy ovid inish the yazif lemi, and the other one says he won't. Meaning he could tell him, "What are you doing? The loan is due tomorrow, right? So you just pay me back." But no, somebody might need money. He might need a, what do you call those? A fast cash? What do you call those guys? Fast cash? What do you?
Hard money loan.
Hard money loan. There you go. Right. You need a hard money loan for a day. Right. People are willing to pay 15-20% to even right cash advance and all those type of things. He's saying so. That's the guy made Taka come to ask for a loan for one day, even though the other loan is up in the next day. Right. Fine. So he has a different shot. Okay. So anyways, that's what we're saying. Is the first way of explaining the Machlokes of Nachman and Sheshes, which is then explaining the Machlokes of Admon and the Chachamim. We're not talking about with the people that actually did the loan. We're talking about the Yisaimim, the Yasmi Migva Gavi, right? Because we know that Yisaimim, if the father is owed money, the Yisaimim can go collect those loans from the father. But if the father owed money, then we don't go collect it from the assignment, right? Meaning they have to pay it back from the Yerusha. But let's say there was no Yerusha, then we don't take it from them, right? Again, let's make clear. When a guy dies and he has money that he owes people, and he also has Yerusha, that money before the inheritors get the money, they have to first pay back. They have to pay back who he owes. We're talking about where he didn't have money. We do not make children pay up their father's loans unless the father left them money to pay them back or left money at all. So he's saying that that's what we're talking about. So we can't collect from one, and meaning you have to time the loans, how to collect it from each one, whether you time. So the Gemara asks, it says this one collects and this one collects. How can you say that one of them is talking about where they should collect, but they can't collect because it's Yisaimim? So Gemara answers, it's so really we're changing the Mishnah. I mean, it doesn't change the terminology, but we're saying what the Mishnah means is this one collects and this one should be collecting, but he can't because he died and he didn't leave any money to his kids. Okay, so then Amar Rava doesn't like this. Shtei tshuvas b'davar. There's two. We normally translate tshuvas as answers, which it is. This is an answer, but it means there's two questions on this pshat. Shtei tshuvas b'davar. Chada the zegoy v'zegoy v'katani. It says zegoy v'zegoy, which was the original question. It doesn't say roy ligvais. The Mishnah says zegoy v'zegoy. Right? Va'oid lagvinu ara liyasni. There's another shtick. What you can do is give karka to the Yisaimim, right? Again, the Yisaimim, their father was owed money, right? And we're saying that they don't have to pay it back because they're Yisaimim, and the father didn't leave them money. Okay, so let the father give the father's estate a field, right? Give him likvinu ara liyasni. Give a land to the Yisaimim, and then take the field back, right? A Yisaimim who collected karka for their father's chayv, meaning the father was owed money. The Yisaimim went and collected a field for it. Once the Yisaimim collect the field, now if their father owed money to somebody else, Baal Chayv, and then the Baal Chayv can go collect it. So why don't we just do that shtick? Again, we're talking about where one set was the Yisaimim and one set was the regular guy. And we're saying that they don't have to pay it back necessarily because they're Yisaimim. So you say, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll give them a field, and then they do have to pay. So kasha, so the Gemara says there is a kasha. Okay. The look, something the Gemara says, ask for lukma de islu liyasmi zibaris. Right? Why don't we say that the Yisaimim had zibaris? Isli lididei idjis ubeinis. And he, the other guy, not the Yisaimim, has idjis and beinis. Dazli Yasmi Gavami Baininus, right? That the Yisaimim go and they will collect Baininus, right? Umagvu lay Zibaris, but then they give him Zibaris, the Inami Vishel Kal Adam Hain, because if it would be that it would like a regular way of evaluating, we only take from Yisaimim, there's a special din, we only take Zibaris, right? So again, the Gemara is asking, basically what you do is, why don't we say that the case is talking about the Yisaimim have Zibaris, and the other guy, the lender has idis and baininus, so the Yisaimim can go collect baininus, right? And then we'll go collect from them the zibayris, because that's what they could pay, because Yisaimim do pay zibayris. So what our answer is Hani mili heichad tafas. When we say that you could collect zibayris from Yisaimim, that's only where the lender didn't already take the field of heichad tafas, but when he already took the field, then he gets to keep the field, and then you don't have to give them you don't have to whatever. It's how do you call it? Irrevocable, I guess. Is that the word? Meaning once he took it, so it doesn't make a difference. Okay, I hope that was semi-understandable. If not, I apologize. All right, now we go on to the easier part. Yeah, so shalosh, we're on the Mishna 2 lines up from the bottom now. So shalosh aratza is l'nesuin. There's 3 lands in Eretz Yisroel for nesuin, right? Which Rashi says means that if a man gets married in one of these lands, he cannot force his wife to go from one part of Eretz Yisroel to another, right? So what are they? Yehuda, ve'ever Yarden, ve'hagalim. So if somebody gets married in Yehuda, he cannot force his wife to go to Ever Yarden. And if he's in Ever Yarden, he can't go to Yehuda and not to Galim, right? Around and around. Now, it's interesting. Is Ever Yarden part of Eretz Yisroel? Right? Rabben Elachman is not on, but right? Who says Ever Yarden is part of Eretz Yisroel? Clearly, this Mishnah is saying that Ever Yarden is part of Eretz Yisroel, right? Now, Tosfos says that if that's only if they're both from that town.
It wasn't Ever Yarden, but part of.
That's what you had with right. So that there it sounds from there the Chumash sounds like it's not part of Eretz Yisrael. They have to ask permission to stay there.
But then they make it part of Eretz Yisrael once you make it.
So that's the question.
Kivush. There was a later Kivush, no?
Not that. I don't know. I don't. Did they? Well, from this Mishnah, it's mashma that yes. Right. That's what you take out from. That's one of the things you take out from this Mishnah. Right.
It's basically telling you can't force your wife to go to different parts of herself. She's not accustomed to it. Correct.
No, but Tosfos has a very big disclaimer. Tosfos says, it's a small Tosfos, but it's a big disclaimer. That's only if they're both from the same section of Eretz Yisroel. They're both from Yehuda, they're both from Galil, they're both from Ever Yarden. But if he is a Galil guy and he came and he married her by Yehuda, then it's understood that she's going with him. Right? That's to be understood that the wife goes with where the husband's going. Now we're talking about where a husband is uprooting himself and moving. We had this a bunch of blot ago.
What about if the guy Tainis is going to learn better than Eretz Yisroel?
Well, that's next Mishnah. No, you don't even need to learn better. You could schlep him even without that. Okay, but anyways, that's the first thing. There's three sections Eretz Yisroel. Fine. Next in the Mishnah is Ein Meitziyim Me'ir Le'ir Mikrach L'Krach. You cannot make her move from one city to another city, or from one a krach is bigger than a city, right? Or from a krach to a krach in two different countries. And even though you're going from city to city or krach to krach, which should be the equivalent lifestyle of living, but since it's a different country, one cannot force his wife to do that, right? But in that same land, then Maitzian Me'ir Le'ir Mikrach L'Krach. But if it's in the same country, then you are allowed to take her to a different city and to a different village, right? On the base now. You cannot make your wife go from living in the city to living in the country, let's call it that, or to go from the country to the city. That you can't do. Then another case, you're allowed to take your wife from a bad apartment to a nice one. It doesn't necessarily mean apartment, but it can be from a good neighborhood to a bad neighborhood, right? You cannot do. That you can go from a nice, bad neighborhood to a better neighborhood. You can't go from a better neighborhood to a bad neighborhood. No, you can't even upgrade. If she's used to living in a bad neighborhood, then you can't bring her to a better neighborhood. Because the Nava Hayafa, the good area, will be Baidik, which we'll see in the Gemara exactly what that means. Right? So basically, there are major limitations on where a guy can force his spouse to live. So Gemara asks, Bishlam and Mikrach Le'ir. So we understand why not to go, why you don't want to go from the big city to the small city, to Bekrach Shrichi Kal Mili. In the city, you have everything. Be'ir Lo Shrichi Kal Mili. But in the cities, meaning again, Krach is bigger than the cities. So you can't schlep your wife from the big city life to the suburbs, because you don't have the same amount of what do you call it, amenities, amenities, luxuries. Well, maybe there's no difference, right? Ella meir lekrach my time. Why can't you go from the small city, from the suburbs to the big city? So Messiah Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina minayin yeshivas krachim kasha. How do you know that it's not easy to live in the city? Shenemar vayivarchu ha'am l'chol anashim v'misnadim l'sheves b'Yerushalayim. You have to give them a bracha that they're going to go live in Yerushalayim. Right. So meaning Yerushalayim is considered the big city, so it's not easy to live there. So they needed a bracha to live there. So the point is that it's not so simple. It's not so simple if
your wife's living in Borough Park, if your wife's living in Borough Park or Lakewood today, do you want to schlep her out to Aratan Koil? It's not so simple.
Correct. You can't. It's mashma from here that you're not allowed to do it. Yeah.
But does it matter if they made it up before they got married?
Yeah. Well, if they make a deal before, then he could say Mekach Tois. Right?
Zev, we're talking about Kaifin Isa, whether he can force his wife to go. I'm not talking about two normal people who decide together.
Yeah. Now, if you go in the Shulchan Aruch and Ibn Ezra, the guy has all sorts of scenarios of what you could do, which the Ramah ends off with maybe we shouldn't go there because it'll be the end of the daf. But I'll say
no.
It quickly.
Does she have a right? Does she have a right? If you want to schlep her out to Cleveland, does she have a right to tell you, I want to go once a month to my parents?
Yes, that's one of the cases in Shulchan Aruch. Yes,
she could say what?
Yes, yeah. Unless you make a deal
have
before.
To supply that. What?
Yes.
Zevi, is there something you want to tell us?
Yeah, she knows a nice couple of houses for you to move to.
Right.
He wants to go to Atlantic City to visit his shver. No, but if one of the cases in the Ramah is that a guy has a wife here and then he goes overseas and gets himself another wife. So it's understood that wife has to go move back with him, so because he doesn't have to travel to get to all his wives, right? So okay, I don't know if that's the most common. Yeah, maybe. But anyway, okay. So it's meaning it's not so simple to get an upgrade.
If a brother moves to something, he has to get another wife.
Yeah, we said he always has to have a wife if he's traveling, because that's out pritzes, right? What do you call it? I'm saying Rashi also says, it's the way Rashi says that the reason why city life is harder is because everybody's on top of each other, right? But the ear yesh ganois or pardesim smuchim lebatim, meaning you have yards, you have grass and all those type of things which can make a difference to people, right? And the Rabbeinu Yoina says that there's peer pressure in the cities. You have to live up to the Joneses. Masha'enkin, if you live in the rural areas, there's no Joneses, which you see mamish papayil. You see that also. Okay, Shimon Gamliel disagrees, and he says you can't even take her from a nice neighborhood to a bad neighborhood.
Very relevant sugya.
What?
Very relevant sugya.
Yeah. So yeah, so Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says you can't even take her from a lousy neighborhood to a better neighborhood. Why? Because baidik. What is baidik? My baidik. The Shmuel, Amar Shmuel, shinui vest, tchilas chaylim ayim. Changing vest means literally means a cycle, but it means a changing any change from what you're used to can cause stomach issues.
Stress.
I don't know if it means stress, but any change, even for the positive, can cause issues, right? Which I wonder. Well, let's see the first variety. We're going to do it. Kosev b'sefer Ben Sira. So we already discussed Ben Sira a few times. Ben Sira is one of the more controversial things. The shaila was to include it in Nach, not included. He was a controversial fellow, but he has a lot of history there in what he says. So the Gemara in a few places in Shas quotes Ben Sira. Some say he was an Apikairis Mamish, and others say not. So, but the Gemara quotes him. Kol Yemei Ani Roim. All the days of an Ani are bad. Vayika. So what do you mean? What do you mean they're all bad? Vayika Shabbasu Yom Tovim. The Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? And everybody gets to have some sort of enjoyment on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Kedishmul, Amar Shmuel, Shinei Vest, Tchilas Chaylim Ayim. No, changing something, what you're used to, can cause stomach issues. So Shabbos, the Aniyim go from a whole week eating nothing to eating a lot of nice and good things on Shabbos. So that can cause them stomach issues, which is, I wonder why. We all blame stomach issues on Shabbos on the cholent, right? I wonder if it's that your whole week you eat I don't know how much we certainly eat a whole lot more on Shabbos than we do during the week. And maybe that's causes the stomach issues. Maybe that's what it is. It's a change. It's a change from and Yom Tov too. It's just a change from the routine, right? When people change from the routine, you come back from vacation and you're more tired than you were before the vacation. So what was the whole point, right? Maybe that's a pshat because you're changing from your routine. It causes. Well, here it's just a stomach, but fine. Ben Siro Aimer, and then another thing he says, Af Leilos, if Af Leilos, not only are the days bad by Aniyim, but even the nights are. B'shofel Gagim Gagoy, because on the lowest roof is his roof. V'marim Harim Karmai, and the highest mountain is his vineyard. So what does that mean? So Mimator Gagim Legagoy, because what happens is his roof, he doesn't have enough money to build a high roof. So his roof is the lowest roof. So all the other roofs drip down their water on top of his roof. So he gets more damage. And may offer Karmel Likromim, and his dirt goes onto the other Kromim because his Kerem, his vineyard is on the top of a mountain. And Memela, when the wind blows, it takes his dirt or whatever work he put into his vineyard and shoots it onto everybody else's. So therefore, the Ani ends up losing out. What did I just see a quote? I just read a quote that poor people can't afford to not buy quality things, right? It's like a Reader's Digest type quote. Not that I was reading Reader's Digest, but it's like meaning if you're poor, you can't afford. What happens when you say the rich get richer, right? So that's shot because the poor can't afford to get anything. So then to get the prime real estate or the prime thing, some of them end up paying. It ends up costing them more. That's what we're saying.
15 years ago, the cars.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay $200 a month. Is you lease a car, you're gonna be in the mechanic.
Right. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Fine.
Your father was very into that.
What? Yeah, not you buy quality.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. I'm saying like watches now. So what's a big thing? You buy watches. I see. You have one guy who's a beer. He buys himself a $30,000 watch, right? In a year from now, his $30,000 watch is worth $32,000, maybe more. Me, I go to Walmart and I buy myself a $10 watch. You know what it's worth in a year from now? Nothing. It's worth $1. So I ended up losing $9 on my cheapo watch, and the Gvir made $2,000 on his $30,000 watch. So so I'm an oni not during the day and at night. Every time I go, whatever.
But you could buy 3,000 watches for his one watch.
Yeah, but they're worthless after a year, and his went up.
Yeah, but you
watch is a bad example, too.
That's true. What? It is in Spurs.
I think he's here. Yeah.
Our Aaron, I was waiting for you to say something.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying.
There you go. Okay, back to Zok the Mishnah. Now we start with the Eretz Yisrael sugis, which takes us to the end of the Masechta. Hakol Mailin Eretz Yisrael. Everybody can go to Eretz Yisrael. That doesn't mean that you need permission. What it means is that you can force everybody, your wife, kids, you can force them all up to Eretz Yisrael, which I don't exactly understand what that means. I mean, wife, I understand, it has to do with the ksuba, right? She has to come up, and if she decides not to, she won't get her ksuba, right? That's what we're talking about with all these things. The wife can say, I'm not coming with you, right? But if she has a right to say it, then he can divorce her, but he'll have to give the ksuba, right? We're learning the sechta ksubas, right? So that's what this whole thing is telling you. If the wife says, I don't want to come with you, and let's get divorced, so they can get divorced. The child is, are they getting the ksuba or not? So here, she has to go up with him, and if not, then she doesn't get her ksuba. Ve'ena kol maitzian, but you can't make them leave Eretz Yisrael. So if a guy decides he wants to make aliyah, he has the right to do it. And if he wants to make yirida, he does not have a right.
I understand. He changed the rules of the game.
He did, yes.
How does he? Isn't it a mekach tais on her part?
No, because to go to Eretz Yisrael, is a chiyuv.
On what basis? What's the lumdus here?
Because there's a mitzvah.
Because the mitzvah yishuv Eretz Yisrael. That's the
correct. Yes, 100%. Everybody's chayav to do. Yes, from this Mishnah is mashma. That at the minimum,
we all overlap if we go to Eretz Yisrael. If we're not, we're living here right in Farakwe.
Right now, we're all being over on Isurim unless you're living in Eretz Yisrael. Now, there's a few versions of it. I'm saying there's a few versions.
It doesn't say that.
Oh, what's that? Oh.
If you go.
So the question is it a chiyuv or maybe is it a mitzvah?
What do you mean? Meaning, you don't have to give the ksuba. You could
correct.
Just divorce. You could just divorce. You could throw your wife to the street. You can throw your wife to the street if you want to move to Eretz Yisrael. That's what's happening here.
Exactly, because there's a mitzvah. Because there's a mitzvah for her.
I gotta go across the street and check on Zevi. A minute ago he's moving to Cleveland. Now he's moving to Eretz Yisrael. I don't know what's going on over here.
But there's a mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisrael, which everybody has to do. So if he's deciding that he's moving to Eretz Yisrael, she's got to go along with it. And so do the kids, because there's a mitzvah for them. Now, one second. No, there's a big tumult here because it's a Machlokes Rishonim. It doesn't, okay, I don't know if we should handle this tonight.
There's
tomorrow,
a big, this is very important. This is very important.
I know,
but important.
I know. Well, this is the beginning of our 12-hour daf tomorrow. But the bottom line is it doesn't say anywhere in Shulchan Aruch. Not that I learned all of Shulchan Aruch, but from those that did learn it, there's no din in Shulchan Aruch that you have to go to Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't say it anywhere in Shulchan Aruch.
So I could throw my wife out if she says
no.
Well,
that's the question. That's the kasha, because from this Mishnah is mashma that there is. So why isn't it brought in halacha? The Rambam does not. The Rambam doesn't write it. The Ramban says it's a mitzvah d'oraisa to live in Eretz Yisrael. The Rambam doesn't bring it.
What is it? It's coming after a mission saying you can't go from one city to the next. It's saying here you can go to Eretz Yisrael and you can force your wife to go with you.
Correct. Because of the mitzvah.
Why does it? You can go to Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't have to be a mitzvah. You can go to Eretz Yisrael.
No, but there has to be a reason.
No,
I'm saying if I want to go to if I want to go live in Lakewood because it's a holier place than Farakwe, I'm allowed to schlep my wife.
It doesn't have to be mitzvah. It's telling you he can go to Eretz Yisrael, and if his wife doesn't want to come, he can divorce her without giving her ksuba.
Correct.
That's it.
Well, you can really force her. That's the lashon, really.
Yeah, you could force her to move to Eretz Yisrael.
Yes, but there has to be a reason.
Because it's Eretz Yisrael.
Right. I mean,
so but force it. Doesn't have to be it's a mitzvah you have
force
to go.
It. Otherwise, why can you force it?
You could force her to go to Eretz Yisrael.
Correct.
You can't force to go from Lakewood to Farakwe to Lakewood. You could force to go to Eretz Yisrael.
Why?
Because it's Eretz Yisrael.
But so what? What's about Eretz Yisrael?
That's the land that
over there.
Promised
right? No, because it's a mitzvah.
Where's Paris?
Why?
Of course, it's a mitzvah.
Paris is by the part.
What?
You could force. You could force to go to the land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Avram.
Paris can't mute Naftali. He's got a problem. He can't.
Paris is by the Vart.
Yeah, you can punch him out.
I was hoping Paris was lying.
He's too far away for me to punch. I need to get a stick. Okay, anyways, let's go back to this. A hot button topic.
By the way, this makes it very fair on why someone mentioned to me why Ramakil was able to leave Eretz Yisrael.
Oh, we don't have to go time on Ramakil. We could time on a lot of them. We could time a lot of people that left Eretz Yisrael. Yeah,
Kaplan, you should be in Eretz Yisrael now.
Here he goes. They got that. I'm telling you, I was just making sure you're up. Don't worry about it.
Anyways, so you could schlep.
Aaron, that was only because his shver just came back from Eretz Yisrael. We can't pick on his shver.
Yeah. No, but then we have a next step, which is even a bigger chiddush. Hakol ma'ilul Yerushalayim, ve'en hakol matziyin. Everybody goes up to Yerushalayim, and you can't force them to leave. Echad anoshim ve'echad anoshim, whether it's men or women. Now, what is the pshat in that? Which from this Mishnah it seems like there's Yerushalayim. That's where you should be living, not Beit Shemesh and not Ramat Beit Shemesh and not Tzvas and not Tveria and not what?
Ramat Givat Zev is not included.
Whatever, all these places, right? It's mashma that's only Yerushalayim, not only, but there's a big Indian to be living in Yerushalayim as opposed to the rest of Eretz Yisrael. Okay, we'll have to see that too. It's too late now.
If the wife wants to go?
So Yaakov, how does that work if the Shvatim were given certain parts of Eretz Yisrael? So how could you tell me to Yeshua didn't give me Yerushalayim. Yeshua stuck me someplace up in the Galil in a cave. That's what my family got from Yeshua.
That's a good.
So what are you telling me?
That's a good kasha. And they couldn't even intermarry either because they didn't want everything getting messed up.
That's why the pasuk gives a special heter for people to go back home when they go to Eile Regel. Pasuk mentions they go back home for this reason. It's only if you go to Yerushalayim you can't leave. There's no chiyuv to go to Yerushalayim.
Well, that's part of the shaila of is there a chiyuv to go up to Eretz Yisrael b'chalal?
So Eretz Yisrael it says two things: kol malin ve'ena kol mitziyin.
Right.
But Yerushalayim, the kasha is only on the malin.
Okay.
Because even if
I have a different shaila. Gershon, if I go to visit, why am I allowed to leave?
That's a big shot.
You're not. That's three reasons.
I can get on a plane.
Now you became a Lubavitcher.
Lubavitcher. This is the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
That's why the Rebbe never went to Eretz Yisrael. No.
Right. He never even left Brooklyn. But okay, but this right. Yeah, that's
three reasons. That's it.
Are we talking about going up to Yerushalayim from Chutz La'aretz or from other parts of Eretz Yisrael?
No, I think from other parts of Eretz Yisrael. That's why I understood it. I
hate to agree with Naftali, but then it sounds like it has to do with it's totally on a place that has more kedusha. Doesn't sound like it has to do with.
You mean it's just kedusha? Okay, but that's true. Okay, I hear, but you have to.
If you told me from Chutz La'aretz, then maybe.
Right, but you have to have episode kedusha. You have to have a reason for the kedusha, no? That which is another kasha. What's the kedusha of Yerushalayim? Obviously, the Beis Hamikdash.
What are we shining tumbling here? That's what I'm asking you.
on which part?
I'm going to Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, so it's a machlok. The Rambam does not say that you have to go to Eretz Yisrael. The Ramban holds you do have to, and Shulchan Aruch doesn't paskin like that. Ramosha Feinstein is a tshuva Ramosha. For guy in Ebenezer, I don't remember now. Of course, I looked at it before. I didn't look at the tshuva. I looked at it quoted. Ramosha says it's a mitzvah kiyumis. It's not a mitzvah chiyuvis. If you go to Eretz Yisrael nowadays, you will get a mitzvah. You're not required to.
On what basis? I have this Mishnah.
They're not based on this Mishnah that there's a mitzvah to go to Eretz Yisrael. But he's saying it's not a chiyuv. It's not a chiyuv, it's a mitzvah, which is a pretty good thing to do. It's a mitzvah, right? But Reb Aaron, our favorite Chai Adam, where did I hear it from? The Chai Adam who says that you're not mechuyev to go, we discussed it, I don't know, in this year. Right? If you have a lulav and esrog, you have no lulav and esrog. You wake up Erev Sukkot and you have no lulav and esrog. Am I mechuyev to drive to Borough Park to get a lulav and esrog, or Lakewood or Williamsburg? I mean, out of my city, Chai Adam is not sure whether you're mechuyev to do that, because for a mitzvah kiyumis, who says you're mechuyev to go to the next city over? If I wake up in the morning and a guy's selling lulav and esrog in the grocery store in the shul, good, I'll have lulav and esrog. Otherwise, I'm not mechuyev. You're not mechuyev to spend more than a third of your money for a mitzvah. For a mitzvah kiyumis, right? So if going according to that chayadim, I can't go move to Eretz Yisrael. I live in America. I'm not mechuyev to do it, right? Whatever. That's also part of the sugya. Now, to answer Naftali's question, Rashi says when it says echad anoshim, the wife can also force the husband, right? And if not, then he has to divorce her and he has to give the ksuba. Yes. Okay. Let's see. The Nosha Yisuf Eretz Yisrael. If a guy, now this next part of Mishnah has nothing to do with anything. Nothing to do with this first part. Nosha, so it's a little vacation from this sugya. Nosha Yisuf Eretz Yisrael. A guy gets married to a woman in Eretz Yisrael, Begir Shav Eretz Yisrael, and he divorces her in Eretz Yisrael. Noisalom Mimoyis Eretz Yisrael. Then he pays her in the ksuba. It just says 200 dinar, right? It doesn't say. There's different denominations of that. So which dinar, which zuz, right? So does it go with zuz, dinar? What's the 200? You could have 200 coins that can mean different in different currencies. There's different amounts. So you give it from Eretz Yisrael. Nasa Isha Eretz Yisrael v'garshav v'kapaytkiya. If he got married in Eretz Yisrael and he divorced in kapaytkiya, no Isalami Mois Eretz Yisrael. He gives him Eretz Yisrael. Nasa Isha v'kapaytkiya v'garshav Eretz Yisrael. No Isalami Mois Eretz Yisrael. So you're always giving from Mois Eretz Yisrael, which is the cheaper. It's a cheaper currency. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. It's a cheaper currency. Whatever. It's not the coins. The Eretz Yisrael coins were not as heavy as the coins in Kapaytkiya. Rav Shimon Gamliel disagrees. I'm a nice and lami mois Kapaytkiya. He does give from mois Kapaytkiya.
Which case?
In
which case?
In both cases.
In both cases.
Yeah.
Shekel versus the dollar.
Correct. That's exactly right. Exactly what it is. Nasa Isha is similar to it. Nasa Isha Kapaytkiya, Begirsha Kapaytkiya, Nasa lami mois Kapaytkiya. Right? No chiddush there. He gets married in Kapaytkiya and he divorces in Kapaytkiya and then he gives him mois Kapaytkiya. Fine. So Gemara says Hakol Ma'ilon Lasuyim. Anytime the Mishnah says Hakol, so the question is, what is it referring to? Hakol has to be including something. So Hakol Ma'ilon Lasuyim. Everybody has to go up there. So who does that include? Lasuya Avadim. Even the slaves have to go. So the Gemara says Lamanda Masni Avadim Behedya Lasuyim. Some have a version of the Mishnah that says Avadim too. So then what's the word Hakol coming to include? Lasuya Minava Yafa Lanava Ra. Even if they're going to go from a beautiful house in Chutz La'aretz to a dump of a house in Eretz Yisrael, you still have to go. So what's Ein Hakol Maitzin? You can't take anybody out of Eretz Yisrael. That's coming to include an Eved who ran from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. And then he was caught. Tamrinon le Zavnei Hacha Vizil. Sell him here in Eretz Yisrael. And you can go back to Chutz La'aretz, but not with the slave. Yeshivas Eretz Yisrael, because of Yeshivas Eretz Yisrael. Meaning again, the Eved ran to Eretz Yisrael. His master went over there for Yom Tif, and he went to the restaurant, and then the waiter is his Eved. So he says, "Hey, you're my Eved. You belong to me." So the guy said, "Okay, I'm schlepping you back with me to Chutz La'aretz." He said, "No. You pay him off, buy him off over there, and he gets to stay." That's what it's coming to include. Okay. Hakol Ma'ilon Yerushalayim Lasuyim. Everybody goes up to Yerushalayim. What's that including? Lasuyim Minava Yafa Lanava Ra. Same thing. From do you even go from a nice house in Herzliya to a garbage house in Yerushalayim? You still have to do that. Not everybody could leave Yerushalayim. Lasuya Afilu Minava Ra Lanava Yafa. Even from a nice place to an ugly place. I did Tonaresha Emetzian. And since the Reisha says you don't go out on a Sefer Nami, it really didn't need to have a separate case because it's teaching you the same thing. But since it said in the Reisha, it said in the Sefer. Fine. Tarabanan. We'll just go a few more 2 dots and then to the next Yerushalayim Gemara. Tarabanan. Who Aimer Lalois? If he says he wants to go up, the he Aimer Shaloi Lalos, and she doesn't want to go. Kaifin Naisa Lalos, we force her to go up. Vim Lav Teitze Beloy Ksuba. And if not, she can get divorced, but she doesn't get a Ksuba. He Aimeres Lalois, like we said, Rashi says, she says, we're going up to Yerushalayim, to Eretz Yisrael, who Amar Shaloi Lalos, and he says, no, Kaifin Oisei Lalos, we force him to go with her. Vim Lav, Yaitzi V'yitin Ksuba, then he has to divorce her, and he has to give her the Ksuba. He Aimeres Lotzeis, if she says she wants to leave Eretz Yisrael, who Amar Shaloi Lotzeis, Kaifin Oisa Shaloi Lotzeis, we force her not to go, Vim Lav, Teitze V'loi Ksuba, if not, she gets divorced, no Ksuba. Who Aimer Lotzeis, he says that let's leave Eretz Yisrael. We force her not to go out. And if not, then she has to give the ksuba. Fine, that's fairly straightforward. Nasa Isha, if he marries a woman in Eretz Yisrael and he divorces her in Eretz Yisrael, etc., right? So Hakufa Kasha. The mission itself is a kasha. Katani eat Nasa Isha Eretz Yisrael. If he married a woman in Eretz Yisrael, the Kirsha B'Kapaytkiya. and he divorced her in Kapaitgia. Nice and loving Eretz Yisrael. So you give the money from Eretz Yisrael. Alma Basa Shibud. You go where the Shibud was, right? Ema Seifa. Let's say the Seifa. Nasi Isha b'Kapaitgia b'Gir Eretz Yisrael. If he got married in Kapaitgia and he divorced in Eretz Yisrael, nice and loving Eretz Yisrael. You give it from the money of Eretz Yisrael. Alma Basa Gavaina Azlina. You go where she's going to collect it. Meaning, do you go with where the ksuba was written, or do you go where it's being collected? So it seems like a stira, because in both cases you're going with Eretz Yisrael. So Marabba Mikuli ksuba shanukan. No, but you can't ask kashas because we're talking about a ksuba. We go with the leniencies of the ksuba. Kasava ksuba de rabbanon, and we hold that a ksuba is the rabbanon. So therefore, we always are going to pay the woman the cheapest amount possible. He says you always give her for kapaitgia, which is the more expensive money, kasavar ksuba deraisa, because he held the ksubas deraisa. So therefore, you have to always go with the higher amount. So the same thing with the ksuba. Now we're just going to talk about a shtar chayv, a regular IOU. So shtar chayv chaver kasa by bavel magveo mimayin bavel. Right? If it was written in that it was in Bavel, so then mimayis Bavel. I'm sorry, you collect it from the Bavel money. Kasa by Eretz Yisrael, magveo mimayis Eretz Yisrael. Kasa by stam. Let's say it doesn't say what currency. If the shtar was brought out in Bavel, so then you give it from Bavel. It's Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael. If it was in Eretz Yisrael, then you collect with shekel. I mean, if they use shekel later. Kasa by kesef stam. Marsha Yitza Loiva Magvia. If it just says stam silver, it doesn't say any sort of currency, then the borrower pays back whichever way he wants. Masha'enkin b'ksuba, iksuba is different. So now hey, what's this going on? Amar Rabashashi Haresha, it's going on the Resha, Lafukim in the Rosh Gamliel, Ksuba derais. It's going on the Resha, which comes to exclude Rosh Gamliel, who says Ksuba derais, you always have to give the more expensive one. Fine. Okay, two more lines. Two more lines. Kasav kesef stam. Let's say it says kesef stam. Mashiyir to leiva. So we say whatever the borrower wants, that's what he gives him. Beima nascha. Why don't you say it means actual silver? Who says it means coins? Rashi says a piece of silver. It says coins. Beima priti. So maybe you should say priti. Wasn't there a guy who was upset at somebody and he got pennies and he dumped them all in his driveway or something? So there was episode Maisa like that. He wanted to get at him. So okay, that's what the Gemara beat the guy to it, right? Like we said, if you want to know all the ways to get at people financially, this Gemara is for you. So this one, the Gemara says, Beima priti. Maybe it just means priti. Papa priti the kaspa loy of the English. No, that's not acceptable, right? Priti of silver. That people don't make silver, since it said silver in the shtar, so he has to give him silver, and people don't normally take little coins of silver, so therefore that's not going to work. Okay, I'm sorry for that. That's a long one. Tomorrow night, just be prepared because we start with Eretz Yisroel, and then all right. Have yourselves a fine night.
I think for tomorrow night, only certain people are allowed on. People that don't ask any questions are allowed on. Everyone have to listen to it later.
Over there.
Good to see you. I hope
I'm joking.
Yeah, listen, it can't be worse than last night for you, Yankee fans. All right, so
exactly.
They weren't ever in. Yeah.
Yaakov, I saw so many Philly shirts in the hotel tonight. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's a shot? Because all of a sudden they become fair weather friends.
It's
right there.
What if it doesn't seem to talk about if somebody can learn Torah like in Babel? I think cases, right?
No. What are you saying, Doctor?
The person wanted to leave Babel to go learn more Torah, to go to Eretz Yisroel, and he was criticized, right? Isn't that a Gemara here coming up?
That's the next Gemara.
That might be the question. If a person wants to live in a remote place in Eretz Yisrael, which is living, for example, in Barakwa, Kodesh, or Lakewood, Kodesh, it might be a problem.
What do you mean? A problem of what? Because it's such a
low level of learning Torah.
You mean if you're learning better in Chutz La'aretz, who says you're allowed to go up to Eretz Yisrael?
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I mean it's I could tell you a Meister show you with my father's. He was ready to move to Eretz Yisroel, and he went to Rabbi Freivel. And Rabbi Freivel, thought, okay, let me humor him. And then Lamaisa, he came to me and said, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. And he said, no, you're not. No, you're not. You can't. It's too difficult on your kids. You can't do that. You can't do that to your kids. That's what he had told him. Now you're going to say, oh boy, was that a mistake? Because look at his kids. But okay. That's what he had said. So you have to take it all into account. But the question is, if you go with the Ramban and it's a mitzvah chiyuvis, then you got to go. You got to go, right?
But a large, Rabbanim stayed in Babel. They stayed in other places. Even today, I mean, it's hard to say that that everybody has to go if you see so many people.
Yeah, so that's what Ramosha Ramban. So he says not, right, because it's tough for people. Ramosha has like 5-6 reasons on the.
So what are you saying?
No, I'm saying he touches up the he deals with it. He doesn't ignore the Ramban.
No, of course, right. You can't ignore the Ramban.
But now there's so many. Israel has really, improved in so many ways. It's really different than it was in 1930s, 40s, 50s, etc. It makes it a little harder to justify our being here. If you look at some of the reasons that are given not to move, a lot of them are. I mean, the economy is strong. The healthcare is better. I mean. There's a lot of things. The standard of living is pretty good. In terms of happiness in life, Israel's ranked as one of the happiest people. Ranked as one of the happiest people, around. So I'm just saying, it's not so partial to just say, it's one thing to say in Brooklyn, but to stay in Rockaway, it's not so partial.
Right.
My opinion.
Okay, I don't know. But you could once you want to say you want to go start with the Ramban, the Ramban holds that you're not allowed to use doctors at all. And we know that, doctor, right?
No, that's for certain people, not for everybody.
Right, but the Shitas of Ramban is an Issa Refuah Mamish, Rapa Yirapa is whatever, how he understands it.
The Ramban holds a person who is on a certain level. Ramuna will not need doctors. I don't think he says it to everybody.
I mean,
I'm certainly not at that level.
Yeah.
But most certainly went to doctors, as did every federal I'm aware of.
Right. Yeah. Yitzi, I meant to say over your what you found in the Ramah, but I forgot the beginning of the daf. So maybe if I remember.
I didn't find anything. I opened up the Evan Ezra. I saw it in the beginning.
No. That's what I remembered. That's what I remember. It comes out that really you should read the Ksuba, right?
That's what it sounded like. Yeah, it sounded like it
really
wasn't doing
you
the
should,
right thing.
But since the island didn't, we don't want to be matzilas.
Yeah. Rich Yaakov, what's the story with women doing laundry on Rosh Chodesh?
Oh, I was actually going to text it out in the halacha text. I might do it tomorrow or the next day. I have it ready to roll. But bottom line is, unless they have a specific minig, then it's allowed. But if they do have a specific minig, the eitzah that the price can say is that she can get all the laundry and then let him turn on the machine.
Right.
Can you?
I think I remember that from last year because I told that to my wife. I might be causing shalom bias issues. But yeah, I told her that. I'll press the button. It's fine.
Right, but the question is if you're doing that, pre-staining things.
Right.
That's l'chara not allowed then.
Right. So I'm in a building. She said, okay, it's a tircha. I got to schlep it downstairs. It's the whole. It's all part of it.
So then you got to do. That's all. Certainly only a woman's issue.
Yeah.
Certainly only a woman's issue, not a man's.
You going to the work?
Yeah. Anyways, all right. I better get ready for tomorrow's daf. Tomorrow's daf is going to really do something.
Can I call you for 10 seconds?
That's a lie.
No, it's going to be very short. I realized this morning I forgot one thing that I have to tell you. Very quick.
Okay, I mean, I have a few phones.